This is the only piece we still have that is indicative of our old permanent collection. Plentitude. Now, you won't find Plentitude at the other museum. She was not painted by Hockney or Monet, Renoir or Goya. But to me, Plentitude is priceless. She is the very first painting I actually heard speak.
When I became chair 4 years ago, I told the faculty that I would like to realize one of my dreams, which would be to have a new play festival where essentially the department, all of the department's resources, human and otherwise, go toward the development of new work. And this would be at the end of an academic year, and the 7 months before that process would start, we would be in workshop situations, so that we would go from reading to staged workshop to weekly discussion and eventually into a full-fledged production. And a couple of years ago, when Ken and Ginger Baldwin stepped forward as people who were interested in supporting a new project, what did I have in mind? I described the New Play Festival to them. They got on board immediately, and we could suddenly afford to do it.
You know what I mean? And also,
we admit playwrights because they have unique voices and we see potential. We don't admit playwrights because we love their plays. So the investment is in the writer and not in the play. And that's true of the selection for production.
Because I want to ask a question. Not
I was in New York City, and I went to the Soho Guggenheim, and it was no longer there. Not because they closed the Soho Guggenheim, but because they're building it in another location. Well, they had closed the Soho Guggenheim, but they're building it in another location. But they had left the gift shop, and they had left the sign outside. And there's a gallery upstairs that's not the Guggenheim, but it makes you feel like you're going into a museum. And that idea was really interesting to me, the fact that the gift shop stayed open and the museum was closed. At the same time, I live on St. Mark's Place. My boyfriend now lives in St. Mark's Place, which had this big community center across the street. And it was a really great place. It was probably the largest space in downtown, like East Village area, where people could actually just go, you know, that was indoors, that people could be without buying something. And they closed it this summer. And so there was a lot of feelings about that, you know, about public space, you know, spaces for artists closing. And so those were some of the kinds of feelings that I was working at and that I was trying to incorporate in the script.
When does your lease come up for renewal?
A couple of months.
So it's about time for a new one to arrive.
Yes.
But it hasn't arrived yet, has it?
Oh, I don't know.
Don't bother looking. It's not coming. You won't be receiving a new lease. The city doesn't want to be in the landlord business anymore. They want to sell this building.
They wouldn't do that. This museum has been in my family for 3 generations.
And the real estate people didn't start talking about these streets being paved with gold until 2 years ago. Now, there's a clause in your lease that allows you to purchase this building for $100,000. You should take them up on it. If you don't, they're going to auction it off to the highest bidder.
When you really try to figure out what a character really wants, their voice starts to form, if that makes sense. Like just picking out that one little thing, extracting that one thing, really helps a lot of other aspects of their character shape quickly. And so that's something I consciously try to do at the very beginning. You know, what is this one drive or this one thing for this one character?
I love art. I actually want to buy into the museum business.
This is not a business.
It should be. But don't you care?
Of course I care.
I mean, do you really care about it? Because it doesn't seem...
Don't tell me what I care about. I know every detail about every one of these paintings. I know why they're here, why we chose them. I know every style, every brushstroke, every piece of information about the artists' lives. I can give the tour in 6 languages.
It's still very hard for me as a playwright to be in the room. It's in terms of invading, feeling like I'm invading the process at all, because I think that text is a piece of a bigger puzzle, generally, unless you're working on it. Of course, the schism is when it's a new play and it's your play, you feel a little differently, and that's sort of strange. And so I like to try to stay out of directors' ways which is why Daisy's been really good for me. It's good for me to work with people that are used to working with new plays and new playwrights. And Daisy's worked a lot with new playwrights. So she is extra come over here. Do you know what I mean? She really makes sure that that I stay involved instead of trying to back off too much, which is my general instinct.
One of the first things I really liked about it was the mixing of mediums, of it taking place in a museum, and that the artwork would be very much a part of the play, and that so that it was merging the theatrical world with the visual world, and then I think the play also has kind of a tremendous amount of spirit and heart, and then it's a sort of, you know, the little engine that could. I mean, it's a small, struggling institution that's trying to compete, and how, and that very much interests me. And then the dynamic between the artist and the institution. I think Lillian, the artist, you know, is very comic, and sort of there's a sort of wonderful struggle between her needing the institution to support her and yet rejecting them constantly and putting them down and, you know, making fun of them, and yet she needs them as much as they need her, and that dynamic really interests me.
Annika, the girl.
I'm Michael, I'm playing Howard.
I'm Joy, and playing Francis.
I'm Jennifer, and I'm playing Lillian.
John, Guy Greene.
I think Laura in particular is very sensitive to what the actors have to offer, and, you know, in some ways can write things for actors, and, you know, so that's always a very exciting part of the new play process, is because these actors, you know, they make the characters.
You play me, I play you.
No!
Come on!
If you play me, that means you have to come in at 8 in the morning, pay the bills, write the grants, and man the gift shop.
Well, forget that then.
It's forgotten.
Really though, if you want things in life, you have to make them happen. You have to take risks.
I kind of have to watch writing for people and trying to make sure, you know, I keep the play. But at the same time, there are other really exciting things you can do when you're writing for an actor and the actor is really, really in sync with what you're doing. And it's almost like being a costume designer or something. It's like you can just tighten the belt a little bit and make it better for that individual. And that to me is one of the most fun things.
Having left the Blue Room and made our way to the Green Gallery, please turn your attention to the painting on the right wall.
Hold for a second, please, everybody.
When we first started rehearsing the piece, I felt like Howard was going to be a breeze, just because there was so much that was similar, I felt. Like his speech patterns, the way he talked, sort of his idiosyncrasies, some of his humor and things. It just, something about him felt very natural to me, and I thought it would just be just stepping into the role. And then as we rehearsed it, he got really complicated to me, and I think that stems from the fact that we were so similar in so many ways, but the way we dealt with things was very different.
Keeping this museum open was hard, a real struggle. They almost had me convinced, but the moment I laid eyes on Plentitude, "Take me," she screamed. "Preserve me. Save me for better times, because when I am gone forever. But while I am here, I am alive forever." Alive forever. How could I leave after that? Maybe you will find your Plentitude. Go, enjoy, and come back and visit us often. We are so honored to have you here.
Howard is a dreamer. He has his ideal of the world, of his world, and anything that doesn't fit within that, he just kind of shuts out. He doesn't want to deal with it. Which was another interesting kind of struggle, you know, because how can you not deal with something that's right in your face? And I think that's why he puts so much faith and trust in the character of Frances, where I think they've been together for so long, I think they each serve a purpose in each other's lives, where Frances is basically my reality woman. You know, she deals with the minutiae, she deals with the business, she deals with the people and the money and the bills and the paperwork and all that stuff, and I deal with the artwork.
Here, next time just ask for it.
I can't when you're late.
This is the first time I've been late in forever.
I know. And a letter from the city.
What?
Have we gotten a letter from the city lately?
Not that I know of.
Have they called? Oh, and Frances, those phone messages are old.
I know that.
And I need the letter from the city.
There is no letter from the city.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. Now, give me those! Now what do I do with this?
She is, in a way, what I fear most myself becoming. I don't ever want to inhabit the place that Frances lives on a day-to-day basis, just because I think I would die from the tension of it.
How about just, then here it is. How about just giving up these?
No, don't.
Okay.
That's scripted.
All right.
Because I want it.
Here. Next time, just ask for it.
I can't when you're late.
Well, this is the first time I've been late in forever.
I know.
She's so ultra-responsible, yet she's also inept. I mean, she tries so hard, but she doesn't really have a clue as to what she's doing some of the time. And I think she's very lonely. I mean, I realized when I was preparing for the role that Frances didn't get out a whole lot.
I've freely given every waking moment to you and your museum. I don't go out after work and have drinks and dinner like other people my age do. No! I stay, I work. I worry when I'm not here. I am always putting out one fire after another, and I have never seen so many fires. But don't forget that I did get you fiscally stable in the first place, and I'll get us back again. Just gotta be a little understanding. Now would you get that thing off my desk?
I want you to see it.
I see it! I see it!
She devotes all of her time to this gallery, and I think that really stems from the desire to create something. I mean, you see that unfold in the play and her relationship with Lillian. Lillian is her fantasy of how to be. You know, no ties, say anything, be anything she wants to be, shock people, and create art.
Put your hand in.
No, really.
It's just paint. You scared?
No.
Prove it.
Lillian! Not on canvas! I know what canvas costs!
Drag.
I've messed.
Loosen your hand.
I've ruined it.
There's that moment in the play where Lillian has Frances paint, and Frances experiences something she never has, which is just a sense of loss of control, a sense of expression, and a sense of communication with somebody without words, without something programmed, just this moment, you know, where she always wanted to paint. She's always been fascinated by art, and here she was an artist, and she experiences that.
I
What do you want?
just to be happy for once. To have the chips fall my way. To live dangerously. To tell people off when they bug me and to do what I want to do when I want to do it. To win $1 million and not give half of it to Howard or to charity. To not care so much. Not always have to be the responsible one and feel so guilty when I screw up. To be free. Oh God, this feels so...
When she finally gets to put her hands in the paint and make something, I mean, that's where it's at. That's her dream. And of course, the conflict is that it looks like nothing. I mean, she's not an artist.
Nothing I do ever works right. Nothing ever. Not at all! Oh, wow!
Of the three main characters, I thought in their own right, each was very endearing, and each had their dreams and their goals, and even though some expressed those in ways that were less appealing to other characters, there was still something about them that you really kind of were drawn to and you really liked about them.
There was nobody here yesterday. There was nobody here all of last week.
You think I don't know that?
You do?
Of course I do. You think I'm feeble-minded?
Well, you act like you see people. You talk to them.
I give tours. That's my job.
But nobody is listening to you.
My goal wasn't to make her likable. I think she's drawn to being unlikable. I think her goal is to be unlikable. I don't think she wants to be liked. I don't think she likes a lot of things. And so there's something in the play which is the painting itself, Plentitude, which she herself painted, which is kind of like the whole kind of arc, because the main character, Howard, is, he's fascinated, lives day to day meditating on this painting. And the person that he despises most is the one that created it. And so the fact she's not important, it's her work. So the fact that the work moved him is what is important to her, not the fact that she's liked by him or anybody else. It's just that the work itself exists. And ironically enough, she had trashed it, and then he picked it up, and it was a work of art for him after she saw it as, nothing. It's those people in life that just kind of pass through, that they might make a splashy entrance, but then they kind of make a mess. And then they're like, okay, I'll just move on to the next thing. And that's just who she is, She's not out to kind of station herself to be liked, to be loved, to be accepted, and to make any kind of difference. And to know that she has, and somehow give herself some kind of importance of being liked. It's not her mission. That's not the kind of character I saw her as.
Obviously, I have a certain idea of how I've imagined these characters, and sometimes, I'll come into friction with an actor if they see a completely different way. But I think that, after many kind of discussions and getting them to try different things, we can come to kind of a mutual agreement about where these characters are in the play.
You know what? Can we try something?
Yes.
Just from,
And I can stop.
maybe I can cross closer, maybe even more on the computer thing, and then so when she goes, it's really kind of late. Maybe that's more of a, comes out of a,
More of a like.
it's really kind of late. Instead of.
I love it when people do improvisational work, when actors do character work, because when you first go into a process, you know a lot about a play and nobody else has really explored it yet. And the great thing about watching somebody do character work is it becomes there. It's that for me is the point when it kind of is no longer yours and becomes theirs, because they're not doing the text. They're doing something totally different with the characters. And it's a really great way to separate yourself from it and for you as a writer to let it be theirs. So that's something I really enjoy about the process.
Take out a cigarette? Okay, so I'm not going to light the cigarette until I'm going to put it into the painting.
Okay. Because you don't really have a chance, right? Because she gets it?
Right. And then the second one.
It's the very beginning stages of something that takes years to kind of create and form and to figure out the style of the writing and then bring in the characters so that the play has a sense of progression and a sense of establishment and catharsis and climax and denouement. And so in order to explore that style, some things had to be modified, so I couldn't just do whatever I wanted, But at the beginning, it was pretty much, I had a lot of liberty to kind of create things, movements. I never created lines or anything like that, but, movements and things like that.
This chair. Can you give that new line?
Over by that painting?
No, let's change it to this chair with those curves under that painting.
Okay.
Over, under, left, right.
That's the word I would use. I had known Laura just from school, but it was weird because she was wearing the hat of Playwright. And so I had to, if you have a question or a comment, you approach it from an actor. You're respectful, and if you have a question or you're interested in making a change, or, it's very much out of respect and what do you think if I try this, or can I try that? And it was great because she came up with ideas, and it was a real collaboration as opposed to getting a script and going, I wish I could ask the playwright a question, but, he's been dead for 200 years or something, So it was nice to have her right there, just to clear things up for me. Yeah, can I say curves, but we say that...
Yeah, but we say that later.
Right.
Maybe the... Just pronounce it like the shape, the feel.
Now this is art.
Well,
It is. Pure sculpture. Look, the back, those curves. Now this is a very cool chair. And I think you should put it right over here.
The physical space of it was a real challenge. Like, how do we create a museum? What kind of museum is it? And then how do we make it theatrical? What will make it theater as opposed to film, I guess? What is going to be our take on this museum?
I was really interested in the setting because I haven't seen much like that before at UCSD, where it's a really defined space sometimes versus the abstract sets that we tend to have. So it was a really exciting thing to get involved and try and find the art for the walls and really get involved in designing that space.
The designers are essential in terms of figuring out a lot of that stuff. And then the process of, Patrick, the set designer, and I, we sort of researched museums and looked at images, and I really love what he did because he was able to push the boundaries of the physical space.
Many artists.
Okay, the situation is that if we were sort of in fantasy film world, it would be fairly traditionally art. I don't know what that means. Fairly traditional looking art on the walls,
Like impressionist.
The director, the playwright, and the three designers, costume, light, and myself, Scenic, sit down and kind of hash out where we're going stylistically, content-wise, what we want to punch out in the play.
There's a Klimt
reproduction.
The Klimt reproduction, that's the one that we have been discussing, but the rest of them are basically...
So right to begin with, it's very, very much a collaborative work. And having the playwright in it, this is the first time I've actually worked with a playwright as well, but it brings up some interesting new elements, because with the playwright there, then actually the play starts to kind of evolve, rather than working with just a script where you can take your own take on it. This is actually we're actually producing the script as we go. So it's been very interesting that way. And sitting down as a group, we just kind of come up with the concept. The director is a huge part of that. And the designers kind of come to the director with thoughts and directions to go. Duvetine flats. Okay. So they'll be wrapped in as well. This show. Okay.
So
I think it's all about finding a balance between the integrity of the set that you want, or the world, the piece that you want to create, and reality. That boils down to the space, or the rep, or the budget, and you just kind of have to keep moving things around. It's kind of back to that model. You just keep moving things around, pull pieces out that maybe aren't as important, and a lot of times, I find myself reluctant to make those kind of cuts. Like this back wall is something that's very important to me, and the floor even was very important to me in the design. But once you kind of just come to grips with the fact that you need to make a compromise, realistically you can't do that.
Is that there is a sense of movement and weaving through. You won't. It will be masked, so when you're back there, you wouldn't be seen. You wouldn't be seeing it. But that there's a.
It feels like part of a greater whole. Yeah.
I think it starts with an idea, and for Plentitude, one of the ideas that we worked with was obviously having irregular shaped walls, and having something slightly askew in the space. It wasn't going to be a conventional 3-wall space. It wasn't like a box. It was going to be something askewed, and we wanted, we wanted to reflect that.
Do you mind turning on the lights?
Oh, sorry.
The challenge for me as a lighting designer, because of the set having the walls askew and everything looking slightly off, was trying to give the audience a sense of stability. We're looking at using real gallery lights and and other pieces of other real practicals.
Practical on the lamp, on the
table lamps and stuff like that. So that will kind of give this a grounding, and then I think the set will give. When they looked at the space, they knew that something it was not going to have like the traditional happy ending, but yet at the same time it wasn't going to be a terrible ending either, and so I think my job was to kind of bridge that the two and sort of give these people give the audience a sense of comfort level, you know, and so that they could, when they looked at it, they sort of knew where they might be going with this production.
And then we have Frances, who's kind of the young curator at the museum. And I think over the course of the play, she might change her jacket or something. I gave her a little Sex and the City flower that she gets to wear to opening, but just to the opening party for Lillian. But it's just small changes throughout, and all of these are pulled and or bought. And then
this is a pretty small show, and we only get one chance per person. Pretty much everyone has one costume to really exemplify who they are. So this is it's a pretty time-consuming process between the director and the designer to figure out what they want this to be. On a bigger show, it's actually this can be a lot more difficult on a small contemporary show than on a big period show, because then you have the period to fall back on. It's clear that we're looking at the 1870s and everybody has to be a certain way, and to the audience's eye, you know, that's, as long as you make the right silhouette, we've gone to the right place. But here, in a smaller contemporary show, it can be a lot more difficult to choose the exact thing.
It's good. It's very nice.
Yeah.
It's good. And I'll make copies for you.
And I stole your headshot. Headshot. I was trying to figure out, she draw? And I recognized D-Class. That I was like, that's her headshot. And then I was like, oh my god, that's mine. Reverse.
Well, I had the same thing. I was like,
no, I like that painting. I'm just saying, that fits over here, but not over here. I feel like it goes a lot further when you have a whole team of people, because you have, 6 minds working on one piece of art rather than just one. And you have little epiphanies along the way. That's, someone will bring up a point, and it's like, that's great. I've never even thought about that. The costume designer or lighting designer might make a comment on the set, and that sparks an idea for me of something that I haven't even thought about before. And it just takes everything kind of up a notch. Brings it to a different level.
We wouldn't have theater without plays, and I think that, in order to have plays in the future, this festival is kind of essential in terms of giving playwrights the opportunity to really be able to work on their plays. Because I think there's no work like a production. It seems to me, in a way, like 20% of the work gets done on a play before it goes into production, and then the 80% of it really happens once you're into production, because plays, unlike novels, is really about all the other elements, the actors, the production, the set, that is what really shapes the play. So to give the opportunity to have a production for a play, I think, is essential.
It was just fun. It was always fun. I was very close to Michael and Joy, always, and Dikla and John, just great time together. It was a great process. I just remember that as pleasant. Some processes aren't as pleasant as that. No.